Welcome everyone to our third and final session of the online workshop, How to Connect with Youth to Positively Impact Them. We want to thank everyone who is on here live tonight on the live feed, and we want to also thank everyone who is viewing it through our YouTube channel, because we'll put this on YouTube after it's over with, and we're getting good response to that, and then the folks who are getting it through a direct mail as well. So we're excited about it. As a reminder, your host tonight, I'm James McLam. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my business partner across the country is...
I am Matt Rush, and I'm actually coming to you from the farm where I grew up. I'm actually in my sister's old bedroom. So we've been working at the farm today in New Mexico, and took a break since it's already getting dark outside anyway. And coming to you from my homeland.
Well, let's jump right into tonight's session. If you guys have any problems hearing us, or if there's any problems with the audio or video, if you'll just put it in chat. If you have any questions or comments, if you put it in chat, it'll also come up on it, and we'll address those as we go through, because we're really excited about this final night. We've had a great time with the two workshops that we've had. We know that you want to connect with youth. We know that you want to positively impact them, and that is why you're here. That's why you signed up for this. That's why you're coming to listen to us, and we appreciate you taking your time to do this. You have a calling or a passion to help youth. You feel something is drawing you to see youth. You see that the youth are facing crisis of epic proportion. They feel that life is hopeless. There's just too many of them that feel that way. Not all, obviously, but there are too many that feel that way. And even those who maybe not view life as hopeless still are struggling in certain areas. And they need our help as well. And you want to help them, but you've got obstacles and things that you need to overcome in order for you to help them. And what are those things that they need help with?
And we boil it down into the three into these three C's, and to be able to help youth overcome the obstacles that they're facing, really it does come down to you've got to have the content, which is what we discussed in the first evening, and secondly, you've got to have that confidence to be able to take and deliver that content in a way that's impactful and meaningful, and third and finally, you've got to be able to have the credibility to deliver those messages, and to be able to stand in front of a group, whether it be a group of one or whether it be a group of 1,000, and be able to deliver that content with the confidence and the credibility to actually impact and effectuate true change in the youth of today and help them get over these obstacles that they're facing.
So the first one thing that we talked about in the content is, what does youth need to hear? And in our first session, you can go back and review that because all of you are getting the replay notifications, is we interviewed around 750 young people between their late teens to mid-20s, and we asked them the same questions. What are some of the problems and issues that youth are facing today? And almost without exception, all of the answers could be boiled down into one of three categories. And those categories are self-image, relationships, and goals. And self-image, we're talking about that they don't have a positive view of who they are. They don't know who they are or whose they are. They don't know how to develop a positive self-image. And since they look at themselves poorly, they also view others as poorly, because how you see yourself is how you're going to see the world. And then relationships, what about relationships?
You know, it's really about, golly, I think one of the things that they struggle with so much, especially in this technology-driven age where everything's on a device, is how do we help them build those strong relationships that may have came natural for us, but now it's tough for them to build those relationships that we know they're going to have to be able to work with other people to become as successful as we know they can be.
And lastly is goals and lack of focus. Many youth today do not know that they can dream to do more than their lives are presenting to them right now. They don't know that they can take that dream and turn it into a goal, take that goal and make it a plan, and take that plan and put it to work so that they can be and do and have all that they have. And then when they reach that point, be able to then give back to society as well. So those are the three major issues that we have determined that youth are facing. Now, we could debate back and forth that there are more, and I'm sure there are some, but these are the major ones that we've done with the research and the interviews that we have done.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, went a little bit too fast there.
And that's all right. But really, it's all about how do we get them to listen, which is partly what we hit with in the second series. How can we get over ourselves long enough to realize it's not about us, it's about our message, but then how do we get them to actually open up and listen to what we're trying to say, to get the points across with the self-image and the relationship and the goals, and get them to listen? Because the reality is, it's not about us. It's not about us. And what's more important, having a message or having a message heard? And that's one of the things we really wanted to harp on or really reiterate with everyone of you, is that, hey, it's not about you, it's about them, and it's about getting that message heard, not just having a powerful message.
And that's exactly important, and it's understanding that you're going to help a lot more people if you are more concerned about what they need than what you can offer. And part of that journey in which they do, and we wanted to make sure we hit on this again, is creating a story in this. And we really highly recommend that you go to Building a Store Brand so you learn how do you make them, you, the center character, the hero of your story, and that you are then the guide only. And so we want to make sure that we be able to do that. And related to that, once you have established that they are who you're focusing on and it's all about them, you need to prepare with a clear objective. Because what is the stats? Do you remember the stats that we did last time? Well, we got a whole new group on this call. There's a few of you that were on it last time, but the stats, Matt?
75% of the people who walk away from a message cannot tell you what the objective or the main point of that message was. Oh. 3/4, 3 out of 4 cannot walk away and hear what that main point was. That is a staggering wake-up call to all of us to clear our messaging up, to make it about them, and to help them get where they need to go, not where what we want to get across.
You know, we probably need to pause right here and dwell on that just a second before we jump into it. We get so excited about the stories that we want to tell, the steps that we want to teach, the principles that we want to convey, that we dump a lot of stuff on youth when we're sharing with them, whether it's individually or during workshops or even as parents. And that's something as having 3 children, and I wanted to guide them through that. I've realized that I have to focus on one thing at a time that I want to focus on to help them go through this. And this same process is going to come when you're sharing with youth, whether it's through speaking or doing a workshop or individual coaching. What is that one thing that you want them to take out of this time together?
Yeah, and once you establish that piece, then how do we take our presentation skills to that next level? And we say that can be done in 7 simple steps. And the first one is you've got to prepare. I understand we went over this last week. We're rehashing all this again. Mr. Ziegler said, of course, motivation doesn't last, but neither does bathing. So we recommend you do that often. These points are so critical. If you can start implementing these into your daily work with young people, how much it's going to help you. So prepare for that. Get over yourself. Understand you're going to have to work on this. Be willing to practice. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Nobody's expecting it to be. We're just wanting you to practice so that then you can begin to polish your message and make it more professional, so that then you can begin to perfect the message, not be perfect, perfect the message so that it is clear and it is understandable. And then we want you to know that, hey, throughout this process, you are going to have some problems, whether that be technology, whether that be an audience, whether that be whatever. There's going to be problems. Just expect it. That way, when it happens, it's not a surprise. And then we want you to perform. None of you go to a movie or watch an actor or an actress and want them to only play at half throttle, right? You're not going to be into that. You want somebody that's going to perform to their best. So we want you to perform bigger than you are. But lastly, and most importantly, be professional. This young generation is begging for it. All the stats, all the research will show you that one of the things that they're really calling for are people who are leaders and people that they can follow. So be a professional about it and elevate your game and put all these things into play, and it's going to make an amazing difference.
So today we're going to talk about credibility. How do you earn the opportunity to do this? And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how can you, when you're meeting with people and you want to share with them your story, you want to share with them the principles that you know can help you, how do you earn that opportunity? How can you go through this? And one of the things we wanted to focus on is to earn it, you need a process.
Yep.
You cannot just go through things randomly. You've got to have a process in with doing this. Now, I want to caution folks as we go through this right now. We're going to talk in the sense of when you're trying to earn the opportunity from a standpoint of that you are selling an idea to someone. We understand that a lot of you that are viewing this tonight and in the replays are not doing this to charge. And you'll hear the word sell and what we're talking about, and you're going to start turning your nose up or you're going to have a negative attitude because you're thinking, I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling my services. I'm just wanting to help. I'm just wanting to share. But what we want you to understand is that when you're trying to get to convince someone to do something, you are in essence selling an idea. It doesn't necessarily have to do with a financial transaction. It is a selling idea. So when we're using that terms, I don't want us to get all bent up out of shape. Is that fair enough, Matt? Did I cover that well?
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, here we're going to say get over yourself. Understand this is exactly what he's saying. And I use the analogy that we had a preacher at church one time, and he goes, well, do you have any like speaking advice that you can give me? And I said, number one, absolutely. I can tell you the first thing that I would tell you as a speaker is you better become the greatest salesman that you know how to be. And he said, what? I said, well, it doesn't matter if you have the greatest content in the world. If you don't deliver it in a way that people want to hear it, they're not going to hear it. So therefore, they're not going to buy your idea. So that's exactly what we're talking about. I said, hey, Jesus was the greatest salesman there ever was. The message he sold, we're still believing to this day, and we're still selling it. So it isn't about sales. It's about selling yourself, selling your message so that people buy in and we can then change.
One of the things that Mr. Ziegler said about selling is selling was nothing more than the transference of feeling, how you feel about something. So if we're thinking about the process of you're so excited about what you know and the story that you can and how you can help youth overcome these problems, that's a feeling that you have. And you want to transfer that feeling to the decision maker, the person that's going to give you the opportunity to share. So that's all we're talking about, a transference of that feeling in there. So, and we want you to know that this is a process, and you'll notice the process is spelled out and with little, dots behind it. And that's because this is an acronym that we're going to work with tonight. So the first letter in this is P, process, is we want you to prepare, plan, and prospect. What do those mean, Matt?
Okay, so when you're attempting to get in front of an audience of any size, of any caliber, the number one thing you've got to do in advance is don't wing it. When it goes back to that number 7th step, right, about being a professional. So prepare for the meeting. Now, and I'm not talking about you've got to come up with an elaborate system and a PowerPoint presentation and super handouts or whatever. That's, that may be that there may be a place for that. Absolutely. But we're talking about preparing in advance for the sales appointment to get the opportunity to go speak.
And to research it, to know what the situation is.
Yeah, and know what that person, where they're coming from. Even the person, hey, yeah, even the person that you're going to talk to when you're trying to get an event or get a speaking opportunity for youth, you can even make them the hero of the story. You just want to be the guy. So understand you're going to have to prepare and plan for that a little bit so you know where they're coming from and how you can help be their guy to help them accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. Right?
If you have something that you want to help, say, with career goals, and you want to teach some youth on helping them with career goals, and you want to go to a classroom to talk about it, then you need to research, what is that classroom about? What has that teacher been dealing with? What are some of the problems that be here? You need to be researching these things so you know what is going on. So you have to prepare very much for this. And prospecting, well, that last thing where we say and prospect, that means you need to identify people who can use the services that you have available to you. So if you're able to speak on or communicate or share about relationships, about bullying, about peer pressure because of the life experiences you have, you need to be researching and prospecting who can do this, who's available to do this. It's a bad thing to go into a group and have something to share. Hey, I want to talk to you about goal setting. And you're going to a group that's already been doing goal setting and been taught about it, and they're just going to roll their eyes at you. They roll. So know what it is, prepare, plan for it, and prospect, find the right people to do this. Any other thoughts on that?
Nope, that's perfect, man. Which leads to the second step, which is it's all about how do we relate to people. And this really goes back to store brand marketing. And this really goes back to what are those connection points? How can, in that preparing and prospecting piece, how can I find those ways that I can actually connect to other people? What are the commonalities that we have? Mm-hmm. What are the things that tie us together? Because when you can relate to somebody, then, man, that's a huge hurdle to overcome.
You get more opportunities by solving people's problems than you will trying to sell yourself or trying to display all the things that you can do for them. And the only way you can find out what their problems are is to relate to them, is to find out really what is going on with them and researching that in a great way and relating to them, so showing the commonalities that you have with them. That is the process of making them the hero of the story and you the guy. You were about
you know what? I really think this is an issue. This is an area that most of us who have a passion or feel that calling, we can skip over this real quickly because we're so wrapped up in what we know and how what we've got to share and how we can help people that we forget to make that connection initially. It would be like going out on a first date and talking about yourself the whole time and then trying to kiss them at the end. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? So find those ways that you can relate to somebody and we're not talking about being fake. We're not talking about being phony. We're talking about being legitimate in ways that you can actually connect with another person.
We said this in the last one. People don't know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. All right, and then so that's R, relate. The O in it is open a dialogue in which to uncover their needs.
And on this one, I don't think this is anything that you need to overcomplicate. The one thing that every person typically on planet Earth is willing to talk to you about, and that's their problems. This is really simple. You can ask, what are some of the biggest problems that you're facing in your position and in your current job? What are the biggest problems that the youth that you're working with are facing? What are some of the trials and challenges that you're facing as a youth worker or as a young person yourself? It's just about asking the question and then following up with the question. Key pivotal point, follow up their response back to you with the question, well, why is that? Mm-hmm. If you can establish and uncover the why behind their needs, then you've got some real material that then you can work with and start to weave in to your process.
You know, I was working with one of our Ziegler Youth certified trainers, and they were trying to get an opportunity to go and share at a school for a student organization at school. They wanted to go and present to them. And I asked them, well, did you ask them what they needed? And their response to me was no. And so I asked them, I said, why didn't you ask? And their answer revealed to me something that we're all afraid of. They said, because I was afraid what they needed, I was not prepared to give, and I wanted the opportunity. So what it was is they wanted to sell them or give them what they wanted, not what they needed. They wanted to do their own thing instead of what they needed.
Oh.
So,
and you know what? One of the comments that Wade, you just typed in there about this being a great PDF on some of the questions to follow up with people. We'll put something together on that, because that would be easy and really simple to do. But don't get hung up on that either. It's really, don't overcomplicate this. When you put yourself even mentally in the position as the guide and just wanting to make them the hero of the story, you'll find that the questions come pretty naturally and pretty easily. A great suggestion, and we'll work on that PDF. But don't get hung up on this process, because you don't need a script for this. You just need put yourself in the position as the guide, make them the hero of the story, and find out what are their needs. And that's really,
just be prepared. If they need something that you're not ready to do, then you need to be fair with them and move on, because it's going to be a bad marriage otherwise, and you're not going to.
And there could be nothing worse for a presenter, for someone who has a passion, feels a calling, if you get so excited about your message that you end up in front of an audience that you're not a good fit for. Because then you're going to lose that connection point. It's going to be more of a struggle. Is it impossible? Of course not. It's not. But hey, this could be uncovered right here in this question about checking up on the needs and finding out what they are.
Hey, and you're not going to get other opportunities to do this. You're not going to earn the right to get other opportunities to do this if you are going in and giving them something that's not solving the problems that they need, because they're going to get calls and they're going to get people asking them, hey, how did that James McLam guy do when he came in? He said, well, he came in and he did all right, but it wasn't anything we really needed. And it was everything we really knew. And they were like, okay, well, thanks for telling me about that. We were going to have them come in and share with our youth group here at church. But since, that's the case, we'll just go with something else. So. All right, let's move on then to the C of it. Confirm the need. Once you've established this, once you've established that you've questioned them and they've told you what the problems, you need to reiterate to them what they said and make sure that you understand exactly what they are looking for, what they need.
Yeah, and it's as simple as saying this, and this is something we can put in that PDF, Wade. It's as simple as saying something like, do you mind if I repeat back what I've heard you say? Okay, obviously they're going to say yes. Of course they don't mind, or they're going to say, no, I don't mind you repeating it back. And then it's going to give you the opportunity to say that. And what does that do for you? Number one, that shows to them that you are truly trying to get at the core of what they actually need. And then you could also even say, I want to repeat back what I've heard you say, and feel free to correct me if anything I said is not actually spot on, because I want to get to the real crux of the issue, the real problem that we're trying to help you solve, and so that we're really trying to help you solve your problem. So that's going to make you look like a true guide when you're trying to figure out how that is.
And it's to say, if you're working with a parent so that you want to help coach their child through some issues that they're dealing with, helping the parent understand what that need is. You've heard what they've said, and you immediately, because you're in that right mindset, you realize, okay, they're talking about a self-image need, but they may not have related their problem to really what you know it to be. So you need to question them and get them back so that they understand what they're exactly needing to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Which leads to the E of the process. And as we're beginning to come to the end of this process, the E is about, now it's your time to offer that solution. You explain what your solution is. You know, it's making them the hero. They have a problem. You want to be the guide. You want to offer a solution. So explain what it is. And you can say, I don't know if you've heard this before or not, but it works so incredibly well. The feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. I've felt that way as well. What I have found is this. So it's simply about giving just enough information to explain how you can help them solve their problem. We're not this. You got to keep this a little, thorough enough to explain that you really do have that solution. Hey, when I understand, man, when these kids are dealing with this self-image, golly, I understand how you feel. I've felt the same way. And what I found is if we can help them get over themselves, we can help them take the next step towards success. It could be something as simple as that. Keep it short, keep it brief, but enough to help them, let them know that you know what you're talking about.
Right. And be able to say, based on what we have talked about here, I'm going to recommend that I do a presentation for you guys on bullying. I'm confident that we can help you with the problem X that you're having. So it's, based on what we've learned, I'm recommending this, and I'm confident it will solve that problem. Just following through on this, explaining what the solution, and being very clear on what you want to do with them. Based on what we've talked about, I'm recommending that your son have 3 coaching sessions. I'm confident that we can help him find the life skills that he needs to be able to make it into college or to do whatever he needs to do.
Yeah, perfect. Which leads then to the next step. Once you've established the process, is now it's time for you to really begin to show what the real value is of what you have to offer. And James said it from the very beginning. You may be thinking, well, I'm not going to charge for anything. So, okay, that's fine. You still have to establish a value to what you have.
Right.
You may be able to say, we're not talking, we understand I'm not charging you anything for this. I want to help you, whatever. But you still got to sell value.
So because it's still costing them something. It's costing them their time. It's costing them their reputation because, hey, if a teacher allows you to come to their classroom and speak, their reputation is on the line there. Even if you're not charging anything, their reputation is on the line. Because if you go in there and speak, it's going to reverberate to the whole thing, and somebody's going to know, well, don't trust, Mr. Rush, because he brings in people who doesn't do anything to help. So you've got to make sure that you're selling the value, why they should invest whatever it is they're investing, whether it's money, time, reputation, whatever it is, in order for you to come.
Yeah, and Mr. Ziegler had a great quote. He said he only had one person to please, and that was the big man upstairs. And we understand that that's absolutely accurate. He said the second person he had to please is the person who hired him to come there. And for me as a speaker, I feel like the meeting planner, the teacher, the youth minister, they're the ones sticking their neck out. They're putting their reputation on the line for us to come in and invest part of that time with their people. So if we make that person, if we deliver such value that we make that person look good and the big man upstairs first, then we get second invitations. Then we get referrals. And if you are charging, so maybe you're doing coaching, okay, show what the real value of coaching is. Because you're not going to be able to charge for the real value of coaching,
right?
But show what the real value is and say, this is what we're offering, and this is what it would be if we were in a corporate setting or even on a youth development issue. You can show what true value is, and then obviously if you're going to charge for an event, then you can say, but because I believe in your mission, because we have a relationship, I want to help you, that I'm willing to do it for X, whatever that might be. So show what the real value is, because this stuff is valuable, because you're changing people's lives. You're changing kids' lives. That is valuable.
And you've really got to believe in the value of what you're offering, whether it is coaching, whether it is speaking, whether it is a workshop, no matter what it is, you've really got to believe in the value of this, because people, again, we're using the terms buy here, and we're not necessarily talking about money, but people buy in you before they will buy in what you can do. So they'll believe in you. Once they have believed in you and they have a confidence in you, then they're willing to buy to the the service that you have, or the product that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't be afraid to sell the value, because we see it in you. Otherwise, we wouldn't be investing our time in being here to try to help you get to where you're at. So we want you to see the value in you first, but we also want you to really see the value in what we're delivering. And that is life-changing content. There's great value for that.
And at the end, once you get through and you've really sold on the value, you simply must ask for the objection. What are some of the things that are going to cause them not to want to do this? And that's a hard thing to want to do, is ask, how do I, why wouldn't you want to do this? What are some of the objections to do this, or against this? You have to do this. You have to be able to ask them, what are some of the problems that are going to, or objections that are going to keep, obstacles that are going to keep them from investing in the solution that you have presented to them.
And by asking for the objection, number one, if you know you're going to have to do this, what is that going to force you to do in advance? It's going to force you to prepare to overcome the objection that you might know happens. Okay, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen the way you think it is. There's probably not going to be a huge objection like you might think, because we're our greatest enemy. So, but it's going to make you prepare for those objections so that you know how to overcome those objections, which shows that you are trying to be the counselor. You are trying to be the guide. You are truly trying to help them. And you can't do that unless you get in front of an audience of any size. So ask. And by knowing that you're going to have to ask for it, it does make you prepare. But number two, it kind of just shows that you know what you're doing, and you have that ability to say, hey, what objections do you have? What objections do you see that would keep us from moving forward? What hurdles are we going to have to overcome to make this happen? Okay, if you ask that question, what did you just do? You just became the guy. You just made it about them again, and you're just trying to help them overcome that hurdle. Ask. It's simple.
So what questions do you guys have? What questions do you guys have tonight that are going forward? And we'll hit on some of the questions from the thing as we close out. But this process that we talked about, PROCESS, is based on the teachings of a very good friend of ours and a sales trainer named Brian Flanagan. And in the notes, when I give out this recording, you will see we're going to have a link to where you can get more information from Brian. We do want to attribute it to Brian Flanagan. He is the chief sales trainer for the Ziegler Corporation, has been for 30-some years, and he developed this whole process. And he was be the first to tell you that everything you're doing is selling. If you've ever gone out on a date, you did some selling to get that first date. If you got married, you did some major selling to get on that date. So we'll do this. So any questions? If you have any questions, type them in. If not, Matt, one of the questions here is that they had is how do I work with an online presence? What would you recommend to earn my credibility on online presence? I know I'm throwing that one at you because I pulled that one up before we got on here.
No, it's okay. Because I've been listening to one thing James and I are adamant on. If we're going to be teachers, we also have to be students. So we listen and we study new material all the time. One of the things that I just heard today, which is kind of cool that you asked me this question, and I didn't know you were asking it, right? One of the things I just heard today was, don't get hung up on it being perfect. Okay, if you want an online presence, number one, you got to be professional. But if you've gone through all these steps that we've just laid out for you in these webinars, you're going to be at a level that's far above anybody else. You're going to be an expert already even knowing what you know. So don't get hung up though on it being absolutely perfect. Make sure that you at least start and be willing to build your audience no matter how big it is. And you know, so start posting some videos, start meeting them on Instagram with the learning styles that they like best, but make sure that you at least start.
And I agree to that. A lot of folks want to get a perfect website, want to have things that are just done. I don't think that's necessary. I think you could use social media aspects of it. If you had, you could just use Instagram if you had to be able to display the images that you wanted to sell. You could use Facebook if you needed to. Snapchat may be a little bit more difficult to generate a crowd that doesn't know you. Instagram may be quite a bit easier on those. I would just investigate, find out where they are, and be real. Just be real.
100%. That's absolutely accurate.
So any other questions that folks have got before I hit another couple of questions here that we've got going over here? One question is how do we get an appointment? How do we get the attention of the decision maker?
Well, as the Ziegler family will tell you, there's one person that you're going to have to get past. That's the most important person in the building. And it's not the CEO. It's not the principal. It's not the chief preacher. Who is the most important person? It's the gatekeeper. You're going to have to get to the gatekeeper. So do some research, find out who that person is, and be willing to get over yourself and start a conversation, a real, legitimate, heartfelt conversation with the gatekeeper. They may point you in a different direction than you thought you needed to go, but that's the first step you're going to have to take to get in front of people. And the second thing that I'll tell you is that you just got to start making some of the calls, whether it be a cold call, but what you got to be willing to start finding places that you think you could help, and find a place that you think needs the message of hope that you've got for you, and be willing to go and talk to them and say, this is who I am, this is how I want to help, blah blah blah. You get the process we turned it to. Be willing to look for those events and those locations.
One of the questions that we have here that I'm going to hit on is how do we get their attention? This is related back to last week. How do we get youth attention? And this question has come up and was emailed to us and was on the survey as well. And we just want to reiterate to it. You need to be real, and you need to make sure that it's focused on them, and that you show them that what their problem is, what their life story going through, that your story can help them. You don't need to just be out there sharing your story, no matter how great it is. If it doesn't relate to how it can help them, it's not going to matter. Mr. Ziegler used to say that everybody listens to the same radio station. Oh my gosh. What's in it for me? You know, WIFM, what's in it for me? WIIFM, I guess, what's in it for me? And that they want to know what's in it for them. Any other questions that we have?
One of the things that has been brought up before is, you know, in dealing with youth, what are some of the obstacles that you're going to have to overcome? And one of the things is that this Gen Z generation, this young generation coming up, one of the things that, if you look at how the era that they've been born into and grown into, they experienced as a really young person the recession. They've seen pretty major changes politically. They've seen a lot of things happen that kind of caused some unrest. But at the same time, there's been a void of true leaders to this generation. So they are looking for people who are genuine leaders and who genuinely want to help them become. Because the statistics on this generation is it's like 78% of them want to start their own business. So they're very driven. They just may not know how to get there.
Yeah.
So if we can help them get over themselves and build relationships and set those clear, intentional goals, then hey, we can help lead them. We can guide them.
Well, again, we want you to connect with us on our social media channels, because that's where we display a lot of the concepts and the things that we've talked about, especially dealing with self-image, relationships, and goals. We talk about those. We also highlight some of our youth trainers. Email us your questions at info@generationziglar.com. And we want to hit that our premier program at Generation Ziglar is our Ziglar Youth Certification Program, which will be launching our holiday promotion on our 2019 classes next week. But if you know someone in their late teens to mid-20s who has a desire to be a coach, to be a speaker, to be a trainer, who wants to be that influencer, who wants to positively impact future generations, we want to talk to them. We want to talk to them. If nothing else, we just want to talk to them just to show we can share things with them, but there may be an opportunity for them to come and join our family. And starting on Monday, we're going to have some great resources for that. They can go to our website and sign up for information there, or they can just email us directly here as it going forward. Matt, you got any closing thoughts on our 3-session workshop that we had?
My closing thoughts are, number one, thank you all so very much for your time. We know that that's the most valuable asset that you have. Thank you for sharing a piece of it with us. We truly appreciate that. Second and lastly, thank you for trying to make a difference in the world. We know that we can start a positive revolution in the young people of today. And if enough of us are willing to help them become the true heroes of their own story, then we know we're going to make a lasting difference for generations to come. So thank you all so much for doing what you do and for giving us your time.
Thank you, guys. And that is it for the session.